Alex Jones is back. We're going to talk about today is what's the real reason he's back? Is there a real reason? And why it behooves Elon Musk to do something like this, bringing Alex Jones back? Because, in my estimation, in my opinion, it's an incredibly important thing that Elon has done to set the stage for what's to come. So, we're going to get into that on today's show. We're also going to talk about who's left. Who else could Elon Musk reinstate to do this thing we're going to talk about? And at 100-day cough is now surging in England. So the news media is picking up on this. I also want to go over something very interesting that just came out yesterday, which is not Elon Musk, but Obama and his wife executive produced this super weird movie on Netflix called Leave the World Behind. We're going to get into everything in just a second. This is the Daily Elevated Show. Today is December 11th, 2023. Elon Musk has reinstated Alex Jones, and I'm sure everyone is talking about it, so there's nothing new that you're going to learn from what has happened from here. But if you haven't heard of it, Elon Musk, after watching Tucker Carlson interview Alex Jones on his podcast, put out a poll on his Twitter, and Alex Jones won handedly 70% to 30%, with 70% saying that they would like to see Alex Jones reinstated on Twitter. And because of that, Elon Musk, I wouldn't say acquiesce, but he agreed to do it. Now, yesterday, there was a 2 hour long or so podcast with Alex Jones. And this is the story that CNBC wrote about what happened. So, Alex Jones has been banned for 5 years off Twitter or X, and he just got reinstated. Now, it wasn't for the Sandy Hook uh, thing that happened. It was because he made fun of a guy who worked for CNN, and the guy that he made fun of had a lot of pull and a lot of power, and got him banned from Twitter. It was Twitter back then. Now, if I'm Elon Musk, why would I do this? Well, number one is the people actually did it. He submitted to Instagram, or sorry, to X, a vote, which Alex Jones won 30% to 70%, 70% saying they wanted him back. Now, if I'm Elon Musk, how does this help me? Well, number one, I already lost advertisers, Disney, and all the other companies that abandoned X. But if I'm Elon Musk, what I want to do is assemble the ultimate team of truth tellers, the ultimate team of people who can get clicks and get visibility on my platform, so that I have the largest amount of people, I have the largest team, the antithesis to what the left is doing, to what mainstream media is doing. I have the largest team to assemble to reach the most amount of people, and that will draw the most amount of attention to X. So if we think about it, it's a win-win for Elon. He's not losing anything from putting Alex Jones on. The advertisers that were going to leave have already gone. And if they have not left already, then they're going to stick there. Because if Disney leaving is not going to, and the ADL accusing him of anti-Semitism is not going to make you, as an advertiser, leave Twitter, then I'm most certainly sure that reinstituting Alex Jones would do anything different. Now, the second thing is, as I said, clicks, visibility, assembling an all-star team, have everyone who's the antithesis to the mainstream media. If you can have all those people on your platform, then your platform by default becomes the platform where everyone goes to see anything that's the opposite of the mainstream media. So you've just created the largest media company for anyone who doesn't follow the narrative being pushed by mainstream media to go to. So from Elon Musk's perspective, it just enhances and adds value to his already existing platform. What I think was interesting was Well, let's go back to yesterday because he had a space with Mario Nafal. I think that's how you say his last name. But Matt Gates, Vivek Ramaswamy, Andrew Tate, and General Michael Flynn all joined in. And currently, as of this recording, there is 11.1 million people that have tuned in. So 11.1 million people tuned in to the talk yesterday, which absolutely shatters any show that the mainstream media has put on and shows the power of the collectivization of having the ability for people to come together on a platform and have all of their individual followers notified that they are on a space. They are in the same space together. There's really nothing else that can rival that. I know Instagram collaborations has something a little similar, but nothing to the point that X has instituted. And Elon Musk yesterday said that he's looking at integrating video meets, which will take spaces to a whole other dimension. So very nice to see that over 11 million people have tuned in. Alex Jones himself, which had about 813,000 followers yesterday, I believe, now has 1.6 million. So he's gotten about 800,000 new followers in 24 hours. Just think about how incredible that is. Banned for 5 years, comes back, and one day gains 750,000 followers just from one space with Elon Musk. The amount of visibility and clicks that has gotten X is exponential. I mean, that is just insane. If you're a C-suite executive at any company and this is what you get, I mean, think about how much interest and value that provides to X and how much more incentive it gives people to tune in because they know that if someone like Alex Jones can be on there, then that gives them hope for freedom of speech and that incentivizes you to become a stronger supporter of X, which I think all of us have since yesterday, seeing all those people on there. So it's nice to see Elon Musk doing something that's good for the people, also good for him. Now, is that why he did it? I mean, I won't say that's why he did it. He literally put a poll out to the people. So um, that's my theory on how this is a win-win for X, for Alex Jones, and for Elon Musk, and for freedom of speech. Because if the point was to really stick it to the people who don't want this to happen, if the point is to really GFY, which is what he said to Bob Iger and all the other advertisers that have pulled out, then this is the best way to show that with action, not just words. So Alex Jones is back. Now, who's still banned? I read this interesting article on Yahoo Finance about who is still banned from Twitter. You know, the mainstream media hates what Elon Musk did. There was no one in the mainstream media that is happy with this. So clearly, the pieces that come out are going to be one-sided. So Yahoo Finance just released an article that says it was actually Reuters, but it was posted on Yahoo Finance. Who is still banned on X? And the people that it list in this list are people who they are trying to associate with Alex Jones. So the reason why they're going to list these people I'm going to read is because now clearly there are a lot of people who are banned from X still, but they've focused specifically on these people so that you can draw a comparison subconsciously with Alex Jones and the following people. Number one, David Duke. Who is David Duke? Well, David Duke is the leader of the KKK. Okay. So if you look at optics, you can see clearly that they're trying to compare or at least combine Alex Jones and David Duke and put them in the same pool. Next is InfoWars, which actually is back. InfoWars is Alex Jones' company. Martin Shkreli. Martin Shkreli was the former pharmaceutical executive who was convicted of fraud and served time in jail. He was also, I believe, it was a gentleman that was on Tucker Carlson. And Nick Fuentes, who was a white supremacist, and Raul Castro, who is the head of Cuba's Communist Party. So they've lumped in, out of all the people that are still restricted or suspended from Twitter, you have the leader of Communist Cuba, You have a white supremacist, Nick Fuentes. You have Martin Shkreli, who was essentially inflated the price of his medicine exorbitantly. And you have David Duke, the head of the KKK. So if you're just a low information voter, if you're just a regular person who doesn't really know what's going on, and you read this article, it's going to make you believe that Alex Jones is in the same realm as these people, as David Duke, the leader of the KKK. So it's counter positioning Alex Jones to be part of this white supremacist fascist movement, which is all the talk today. And speaking of white supremacy and racism, anti-racism, which is racism, Barack Obama and his husband, Michelle Obama, released a film on Netflix yesterday, and it's a very interesting movie. So it's called Leave the World Behind, and the executive producers literally are Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. Let me pull this up here because I want to read to you. Actually, let me just show you something that they posted in a part of the movie. And it is one of the most racist things that it's just incredible to see that the Obamas were the executive producer of this and put very explicitly racist things in this movie. There was tons of subtleties. But let's go ahead and watch this specific one because this is the one that got me. You always have to make sure, or you always have to be scared that when the people that you are accusing of doing things actually say it out loud, why are they so confident that they can say it out loud and don't have to say it subtly or in doublespeak or hide behind some other meaning?
I'm asking for you to remember that if the world falls apart, trust should not be doled out easily to anyone, especially white people. Even Mom would agree with me on that. I'm asking
Let me play that again, in case you didn't catch it at the end.
You to remember that if the world falls apart, trust should not be doled out easily to anyone, especially white people.
Okay. So the great unifier, the yes, we can, Mr. Yes, we can, the great unifier in Barack Obama, the executive producer of this movie, chose to insert these lines or approve the insertion of these lines into the movie, which is demonizing white people. Now we all know that Netflix is extremely woke. It's the most woke media organization other than Disney, I would say, even more so than Disney because they don't do it subtly like Disney does it. This is an affront to normalcy, to heteronormativity, to cisgender normativity, whatever you want to call it. And they literally put that in the movie. In addition to that, there was a very interesting post by MJ Ultra Truth or Ultra MJ Truth, and their assessment of exactly what happened is really interesting, and I'd like to read it to you. So let me go ahead and bring this up here. So what they say in this post is that, well, this is actually just happened. This is something else I was going to talk about, but Chinese hackers infiltrated key U.S. critical infrastructure, which is incidentally comes one day. The story comes one day after the movie Leave the World Behind, which is exactly about the same thing. Let's actually listen to this Fox News report from yesterday about this exact thing.
Hackers affiliated with China's People's Liberation Army have infiltrated critical services here in the U.S.
Alexandra Hoff joins us now from our nation's capital. Alex, this is not good.
No, it's not. I mean, this infiltration appears to be part of a broader effort to insert chaos into our logistical systems. The information collected could then be weaponized if the U.S. and China were to become engaged directly in the Pacific. According to reporting from the Washington Post citing multiple U.S. and industry security officials, China's cyber army is invading critical U.S. services, like an attempt to break into the system behind Texas's independent power grid. Other victims include a water utility in Hawaii, a West Coast port, and at least one oil and gas pipeline. according to that report you're seeing there. Brendan Wells, executive director of the Department of Homeland Security Cybersecurity Agency, told the Washington Post this, quote, "It is very clear that Chinese attempts to compromise critical infrastructure are in part to pre-position themselves to be able to disrupt or destroy that critical infrastructure in the event of a conflict, to either prevent the United States from being able to project power into Asia or to cause societal chaos inside the United States to affect our decision-making around a crisis." The report notes that over the past year, hackers affiliated with the People's Liberation Army in China have accessed the computer systems of about 24 critical entities.
So something curious happened. This comes out. This story comes out today. Obama's movie comes out yesterday. The day before yesterday, Alex Jones is on. A few days before that, Alex Jones is on Tucker Carlson talking about this specific thing, literally talking about how Klaus Schwab says that the next attack could be a critical infrastructure attack. We know that the Chinese have hacked the agencies of the government. There was I forget the name of it, but a few years ago there was a massive undertaking by hackers, whether it be Chinese, the GRU that comes out of Russia, or the North Korean hackers, to infiltrate and put a bunch of spyware on military computers and government computers, which they said we won't even know the extent of this hack for years to come. So they don't even know what's been taken. Military blueprints, data on individual citizens. They don't know. They have no idea what was taken. But this story is not new. So everyone knows that other countries have been trying to hack into the critical infrastructure of the United States for quite a while, because if they can shut down the critical infrastructure, then they essentially can shut down the country. One day of having all the internet off in the US would cause a stock market crash, not only because of what it will do with the inability to actually do trades, but the faith in the system behind it. So that would absolutely collapse the stock market. And one day, if any country or any group could take down any critical infrastructure, whether it be the water filtration systems, whether it be electricity, whether it be the internet, all these critical systems run on the internet. And if it's run on the internet, then you can hack into it. This is one of the big reasons why a lot of the ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, which have nuclear warheads on them, are very old technology that are not connected to the internet, specifically because they can be hacked. Now, I've been saying for a while that the first country that gets true AI or AGI, artificial general intelligence, which is essentially once AI becomes smarter than a human, the first person to get that actual true AI can run hundreds of thousands of simulations across a few days or a few hours that our supercomputers can't even touch. They would be able to find a way, a backdoor into the critical infrastructure of the US economy, or any economy for that matter. This is why the race to create AGI, or you could say artificial superintelligence, is so critical, because the first country that gets that can do whatever they like with any other country's critical infrastructure. But it's curious timing that Alex Jones goes on Tucker Carlson, talks about it. The next day, the Obamas release their racist movie on Netflix. And the day after that, it's the stories coming out about cybersecurity hacks that are already beginning. So there's a lot of word about pre-programming that's been going around the internet, saying they did this to pre-program us for when it happens. They could say, well, we told you about it, so you understand that it's going to happen. It's a foregone conclusion. And the World Economic Forum has been talking about these cybersecurity hacks for quite a while. They go on every day of our lives. We're just not privy to it. And the last thing a government that's hacked would want to do is allow the people, the populace, to know that they've been hacked, because that diminishes the trust in the system. If for one day they can remove critical infrastructure, as I said, it would collapse the economy. It would collapse the market. The market would just take a massive hit. Not only that, but there's a bond market that is pumping bonds every single day. The government is selling bonds every single day. If you couldn't access that entire liquidity will dry up for the day. There's a reverse repo market every single night where massive institutional buyers take loans, small, short loans, give money to the government and get interest back overnight. It's the overnight reverse repo market. And this is where your money is at. This is where the money that you deposit into the bank account goes. It doesn't go to them buying this little stock. It goes to them leveraging their positions as a bank, borrowing more money from other banks to do things with. Lending the government overnight money in this reverse repo market to get a short-term interest rate. So they're essentially leveraging themselves to take money from other banks and pay them a little interest to do whatever they need to do with it. And if someone could collapse a critical infrastructure of the United States for just one day, trust in the government would be non-existent and things would collapse. So the timing is very interesting. But aside from that, this movie, this Leave the World Behind movie, had a lot of really overt mentions of some very evil things, like 666. So in one of the opening scenes, they literally have 666 in a clock and 2 cups right by the bed. Why do they do that? I don't know if they're just poking fun at people who are saying that they're evil. So they're saying, well, you know what? If they're accusing us of being evil, then let's just be evil. This is what I mean here. This is the 666 that is on the bed in the movie that the Obamas green lighted. Here we go. So there are 2 coffee cups on either side of the bedstands, left and right. The first cup said 6. Then there's a clock next to the cup. The clock is also set at 6. And on the other side of the bed, on the other coffee stand, there's also a coffee mug which also has 6 in a different, smaller font, but nonetheless 6. 666. You know, there is a thing that leftists do that they like to mess with people. So I know one of the things that I've heard from these sorts of people who use pronouns is that they do that so that they can confuse people to mess with them. So I do believe that there's an element to that, but I do believe that there's an element of some very nefarious things that are happening that are being called out to pre-program you to already be okay or being comfortable or at least know what's going to happen. So when it happens, you can say, well, yeah, this is what they were planning on doing all along, and you won't be so appalled because according to them, if you know what's going to happen and it happens, then at least they told you so. That's some of the news coming out today. And in other news, Donald Trump is smashing everybody in the polls on both sides, Republican and Democrat. Now, we already know that he's been beating Biden by a small margin, but it just came out today, and CNN's own poll said this, that Trump is beating Biden by 10 points in Michigan, which is 10 points in Michigan. This is a state that Biden won last time around. So Donald Trump holds overwhelming lead. DeSantis edges against Nikki Haley, edges ahead of Nikki Haley. He's topping 50% in Iowa. And Ron DeSantis overtook Nikki Haley in the polls. Haley has seen a burst of momentum in Iowa between August and October, growing her share of support from 6 to 16%. In recent weeks, she snagged a major endorsement from Americans for Prosperity Action, part of the Coach political network, and has amassed support from major donors looking as an alternative to Trump. So she's gotten every support that typically would work. She's gotten every endorsement from the people that you would typically think would help someone surge in support. She has all the military industrial complex behind her, and she's flat at 16%. Trump is trouncing her. Why are they still running? The narrative and the theory is that they don't believe that Trump will actually be around, whether it's because he's in jail or because, he's no longer with us in this dimension by the time the election comes. So if that's the case, they need someone to run in his stead. The same with Joe Biden. Why is Gavin Newsom running a shadow campaign? Why is he debating Ron DeSantis? a small part of them, a small part of both of them believe that they may be the de facto nominees of their party because they are second place, and the first place on both parties will not make it to the election. So at that point, when you have the national conventions convened, there may be something pulled where they have to run a candidate in the stead of the candidate that is no longer maybe they're both no longer in this dimension. Now, whether that is, we don't know exactly what that means, but we have some indication. Even Alex Jones said that he believes that Biden and Trump won't survive until the election. So if that happens, you need someone to run. So if you're running for second place, even though you have very little support in your own party, if the first place contestant is no longer able to contest and compete, then you become that person. Now, if that were to happen, and if both the candidates, something were to happen to them, I can tell you that there'd be a lot more problems happening at that point in time than just them dropping out. There would probably be a civil war in the country at that point because the deep state is a real thing. People have gone missing. People have been made to disappear for speaking out against them. And there was a post of an MI6 agent today that's been spread around Twitter that apparently in 2020, I believe, or 2019, was found in a like a bag, dead in his bathtub. And apparently, and this is according to Twitter, I haven't verified this, it was ruled a suicide, but the guy was inside of a bag. So apparently, the guy put himself in a bag, then put himself inside of a tub, and then somehow died. Um, but apparently, he had some dirt on the Clintons. From the word going around is that he had some dirt on the Clintons, and that's why he was made to disappear. So whether or not that's true, I don't know. Robbie Starbucks reposted it, and he said basically this is true. So he may know something I don't. Either way, it's scary to think about stuff like that. But I believe this is what is being planned as an alternative if they can't get Biden to start surging in the polls, even though they've done all this. They've done everything the left wants them to do, and yet they're still getting trounced in the polls. Why is that? Why do people just literally not want Biden to run? There has to be something that the people don't feel that Biden has done right. When you pander to a subset of your extremist left because you think that that will maybe get you votes, it's not working. And it's because Biden is just not extreme enough. The administration can't be that extreme because they're trying to shield. I mean, I don't even know if they're trying to shield it anymore, but they're trying to at least have the semblance of normalcy in the White House. When we clearly know that the people in charge of making the decisions are trying to push for this socialist agenda, but you have to do it little by little. If you do it too much, people will say this is over the top. And yes, in some cases that is the case. But overall, they're still trying to toe the line of being democratic and being literally being Democrats and not full on socialist. So this is a story that came out in the Sun today. Brits told to elbow bump family members this Christmas as 100-day cough that can crack ribs and cause seizures runs rife. This is one of the most clickbaity titles I've ever seen on a story. So apparently in England now they have a cough that lasts 100 days. So you can't hug your family members anymore. It says people should also wear masks to stop the spread of the disease. Oh, so they're considering it a disease, not a virus, not a bacteria, a disease. So let me read a little bit about this. A leading virologist gave the advice after new government data suggested cases of whooping cough have risen by 250% compared to last year. And someone took a stock photo of these two people fist bumping with masks on that look very multicultural to put as their main picture on this news article. So I don't know if this is a stock photo or if they took it specifically for the story, but all over England, cases are surging of whooping cough. So more than double the same period of last year and a 250% increase from 2021. They're also saying, in addition to using your elbows to greet people, no hugging and no kissing. Experts say the rise in cases could be a hangover from restrictions during the COVID pandemic. That's interesting. So we have this white lung in China, and we have a 100-day cough. The names of these pandemics are very good. I don't know what think tank comes up with the names, but 100-day cough, that gives you what it is, and that gives you how long it lasts. That's a great name. If you're in marketing, any let's just say a URL. Whatever URL can convey what it is and what it does without having to explain it, that's a good URL. That's why the really good ones are all taken and all bought up, like real estate. So 100-day cough, that tells you what it is and it tells you how long it lasts. White lung, the Chinese white lung going around in China. That tells you, that scares you. That just tells you what it is. It's a white lung, whatever that is. You don't really know what it is, but it sounds horrible. So we're now being inundated by these new 2023 Christmas mini COVIDs, many pandemics. So I don't know anyone who's really believing anything that's coming out. Now, this person, Isabel Shaw, I don't know who it is, but usually whenever I find a news story like this, that's just so kind of stupid, so over the top, so clickbaity, and clearly pushing a narrative, I do something very, very simple. I Google their name and I Google WEF. Okay. So I Google the name of the author and WEF because chances are that the person who wrote the story is a part of the World Economic Forum. Okay. So all I did was Google the lady's name and WEF, and look what pops up here. Surprise, surprise. Strategic Intelligence Co-Curator Community. And let's see if I can find the name here. So I'm just go find Isabel Shaw. And I don't see her name on here. But what I've done in the past, and I've shot videos of it, is whenever you see a headline that's just so out of this world, just so ridiculous, just Google the author's name and the person, and WEF, and there are chances that you will find that they are affiliated with WEF. It's happened so many times, especially when you're looking at stories about climate change, about going green, about carbon credits, about all these different things. Google their name, WEF. That'll tell you who they're working for. That'll tell you who's paying their bills. And that'll tell you who's pushing that narrative to the media. Because otherwise, as a regular news editor, why would you allow such a ridiculous story to be posted if your name is on all stories that come out of that publication? You would have to be incentivized in some form, in some way to do that, rather than just posting things that just have no factual basis in this reality. Now, maybe in their reality, yes. And if you're a postmodern thinker, then you believe that realities are created in our heads and everyone has to agree to your reality. So there is no objective reality. Everything is subjective. And if you can make every meaning subjective, then there are no objective meanings and no one can have a cohesive conversation with anyone else because the meaning of whatever is being spoken about is not agreed upon. We can't have a debate over red apples if you and I both think red apples are something completely different. If I think red apples is a cup that's green and you believe that a red apple is a red apple, that's the color red, then you and I can't have a discussion on whether it's good for you to eat red apples because we both can't agree on the definition of that specific thing. This is how you use language to divide people. And in postmodernism, you use this language to divide people because no one knows what each other thinks about any one thing. With the Enlightenment, during the Enlightenment, meta narratives and objective facts were everything. It was very crucial to base your logic and your suppositions and your arguments off objective facts. That's no longer the case. Why? Well, because postmodernism says it's not. So whoever follows postmodernism doesn't believe that. That's why it's so hard to have a conversation with people who believe in this stuff because their version of reality is not based in reality. Their version of reality is based in whatever their mind has come up with their own specific reality Their own specific reality is tailor-made for them by them. And what influences that reality that they create in their head are things like trauma, things like anxiety, things like maybe not fitting in. All those external environmental factors come into play in whatever reality that they create. And most oftentimes, it seems like they're trying to subvert pain, and the reality they create is specifically meant to cast off that pain, to not even address it. And if you address it, if you address something that tries to crawl under that pain and get to it, they start screaming, they start calling you a bigot, a fascist, a Nazi, or racist, all these other catch-all terms that make you not want to ask that question. So if you have microaggressions, everything is a microaggression. If you even start to ask the question, that can be labeled a microaggression. It's all to shut you up. It's all so that you self-censor yourself. This whole postmodernism right now, it's hit its peak. I think we're past the peak. Personally, I think people are waking up to the fact that this is just idiotic. You cannot run. You can't have any. You can't run a company. You can't run a society, and you can't develop a culture where nothing is agreed upon. This is the Tower of Babel all over again. So this postmodernism thing, it has to go. And who do you bring in to fight postmodernism? You bring in truth tellers. You bring in people that are not okay with the narrative being pushed, that understand that it is a narrative being pushed, and you get people to speak about these narratives and the counter narratives in a very succinct, professional way. These are people like Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan. So it behooves someone like Elon Musk, as I said in the very beginning of this talk, to go in and get all these people on one platform, to elevate them and to give them more exposure, because you associate certain types of people with certain types of things. If I see somebody with blue hair and a nose piercing, I'm going to associate them as being liberal, as being leftist, as probably wanting socialism. It's all optics. It's all marketing. And how do you increase exposure when advertisers are not advertising on your platform? You do it with other non-standard ways of marketing. Elon Musk doesn't have a marketing department in Tesla. He is a marketing department. So whatever that percentage of total revenue or total investor funds or total liquidity that you would typically spend on marketing is not having to be spent on marketing. Now, whether you spend 20% to 80% on marketing, which could be typical, especially for a startup company that has to put a name out there. If you're talking about the movie industry, they spend as much on marketing the movie as they do producing it. So whenever you see the cost to produce a movie, let's say it's $200 million, they also spend $200 million on marketing. So the movie has to bring in $400 million to break even. This is one of the biggest problems that Disney has been having, because their cost to create the movie is astronomical and their cost to market it equals that astronomical number. So how do you get marketing dollars without spending marketing dollars? Or how do you get reach? Or how do you get visibility? Or how do you get usage without being able to provide the people that are creating that usage and keep them happy, which is a case of X, where people post how much they've made all the time on it, especially the larger creators, and the amount has drastically decreased, something like 95% in some cases, the amount of money that people are making now that they didn't make before. That's simply because it's not that there are no advertisers, but there's less advertisers advertising on X. Therefore, there's less money to go around. So if you're trying to keep people invigorated to keep using your platform and spending time curating and creating content, then they have to have a different narrative, a different reason why they do that. And if this is all about collectivizing the truth tellers against the snake oil salesman, against the globalists, against the mainstream media, then this is the vessel, this is the catalyst that they can utilize to get people to still stay on the platform and grow it without spending a dollar. All it takes is a reactivation of an account. And now all of the news media, mainstream and alternative news media, is talking about it. The amount of money, the amount of value that Elon Musk has generated in just allowing Alex Jones back on his platform is probably in the tens of millions, easily. The same thing when he got Tucker Carlson to come onto X and have a show called Tucker on X. He utilized someone who was castigated by the mainstream media, brought him in, allowed him to speak freely, and look at what happened. He consistently, every single one of his interviews, smashes the top performing primetime news network cable show on any network, day in and day out, thereby proving viability of this model where you allow people who are, and you have to think about the fact that we are so impressed when someone can speak their mind that we watch them at record-breaking levels. People watch Tucker Carlson more than any of these massive productions that take millions of dollars, multiple cameras, different graphics, editors, producers. He does it with two cameras, two or three cameras. He does it in a studio that he created. There can't be more than 2 or 3 people on set and maybe an editor. So he's doing it without all these extra expenditures, but what he's providing is the truth. And people want to hear the truth more than they want to hear fancy lies. Fancy lies with different screens and touch screens and people on CNN that are touching the screen and showing you different districts and moving around fancy things, but they're giving you lies. So that shows you that people would rather listen to truth in a very simple setting than lies in a very fanciful setting. Looking very, very nice. So you could put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. So those are my thoughts today. I think we're in a ramp up period. We're heading for a climax for the 2024 election. It's going to be a very interesting year. I hope we come on the right side of it. We come out on the right side of it, because if we don't, humanity is going to be in a very dark place. Elon Musk said something very telling yesterday. He said that if the FBI came to him in the ramp up to the 2024 election and told him to remove content or to censor people because of any number of excuses that they give him, he said that if he feels it is illegal what they're doing, that he will not do it. And he said, I personally would go to jail instead of doing this. I would take it to the courts first, and if need be, I would personally go to jail. And I think that's very telling. He's sending a subtle hint to these 3-letter agencies to make sure that if they do come at him, they're going to come at him very hard, because there's nothing he's going to do. He's saying that it's going to cave in. He's even willing to go to jail himself. So that being said, I did want to get out of here. It's been 42 minutes. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe, share with your friends, and tune in tomorrow. See ya.